Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about the top 25 teams, how they fared this past weekend. Oregon kind of put a stamp on their number one ranking. Carson Beck still has some issues that he has to work out and a number of different things all around that top 25. But let's get into everyone else. There are a number of teams that fell out of contention this past weekend and a number of teams that might have gotten themselves a little bit of a spark towards the end of the year. But let's start with this one that went to overtime, a crazy game between Virginia Tech and Syracuse Syracuse was able to get it done. I don't know how, frankly, because Virginia Tech was up 21-3 midway through the third quarter. Then they allowed touchdowns on 4 of the final 5 drives for Syracuse and let them back in this one. Now, no Kyron Jones, no Baishal Tootin definitely hurt them in this game, but Colin Schlee played more than fine. This run game was relatively, at least, more than fine. The defense really kind of lost this game for them, and it was very, very tough to watch, but at the end of the day, they're officially out of the ACC race. Virginia Tech no longer has a crazy path to find their way into that conference championship and get a remarkable win over Miami or over SMU. But at the end of the day, still a year overall for Virginia Tech that didn't go the way you wanted it by any means. I do think there's still a lot of stuff to like about that program. And then for Syracuse, this one was huge. You become bowl eligible, and more than anything, outside of Miami at the very end of the year, you could win out the rest of the way. And then that's a 9-3 season in Fran Brown's first year at Syracuse. Remarkable stuff from him and that coaching staff. Not enough can be said. He probably won't win Coach of the Year in the ACC because of what Rhett Lashley's doing, because of what Mario Cristobal's doing, but man, he should be right in that conversation, that's for sure. Oh, excuse me, I'm on the wrong thing here. There we go. Vanderbilt gets another big time win, another bowl eligible team for the first time since 2018. They are going bowling. And this one, it wasn't about Diego Pavia. For the first time, probably all this season for Vanderbilt, it was not about Diego Pavia. It was about this defense flying around, really stonewalling Auburn in so many different ways. I mean, Jarquez Hunter had 50 yards rushing in this game, and Auburn overall had 88 yards rushing on 29 carries. It was not a good day for this Auburn offense running the ball, and as you can imagine, it was not a great day for them throwing the ball because of that. So a huge performance from this Vanderbilt defense that, frankly, I didn't even know if they were capable of. Probably the best defensive performance they've had all year, and Vanderbilt ran the ball worse. They had less pass yards. They completed 7 passes on the day, and they were able to get a 10-point win. That is everything about that defense and everything about this coaching staff. It's a really, really well-coached team. They don't make mistakes. They don't hand you the ball too much. In fact, they have 5 turnovers on the season. 3 of them came against Texas this past weekend. So a lot of this stuff has just been really incredible and comes back to just how good Clark Lee has done with this team. Then you got UCLA, Nebraska. Got to give some love to the Bruins here because this is 2 straight wins in the Big Ten. And you look back at their schedule, they played really tough teams to start this Big Ten slate. So not to say they're a team that is going to be, dominate the rest of the way and beat Iowa, beat Washington, I wrote down Iowa again. I don't know who they play. USC is what I'm looking for at the end of the year. If they're able to win those games, I'm not necessarily saying they will. What I am saying is the teams they played to start the year were insanely tougher than the couple of teams they played the last little bit and the teams that they'll play the rest of the way. So maybe this is just a UCLA team that we didn't give enough credit for early on in the year because they were losing to the elite of the elite in the conference. And now they're playing a little bit more around their area and they're playing really good football. And Ethan Garber's playing really good football for kind of the first time this year. It started last week, and he went 17 for 25, 219, 2 scores through the air, and led UCLA in rushing with 56 yards rushing. Not something you want necessarily, but if you're UCLA, you'll take it any way you can get it. And for Nebraska, I don't really know what to say. I got to be totally honest with you. You lost 4 of the last 6. After that Colorado game, it felt like everything was rolling downhill. It felt like Matt Rhule was going to get this team going, and you look forward to USC, at USC, Wisconsin, and at Iowa. I wonder if they're going to make a bowl game. It was an absolute collapse from a really good start to the season. Now, Dylan Raiola, very young quarterback, coming back next year. A lot of things could change next year. But man, it's this the same story over and over again. It feels like for Nebraska, and I can't imagine Nebraska fans have too much more patience left. Moving forward to this game, Washington was able to get a 26-21 win over USC and came down to the wire. USC had a chance to win it a fourth down on about the 10-yard line, couldn't get it done. Washington makes yet another play defensively in this one, and you very badly needed it if you're Washington. Move to 5-4 on the season, give yourself a really good shot at the bowl game. For USC, 4-5, and you lost 4 of your last 5 games. It's been really, really ugly. They have to win 2 of the next 3 against Nebraska, UCLA, and Notre Dame to go bowl eligible. Probably got to beat Nebraska and UCLA if you're going to be able to do that, because I don't think you're touching Notre Dame at the end of the year. But it's going to be really, really interesting to watch those two teams unfold the rest of the year and really into the offseason, because especially USC, I don't know what happens over there, but they'll figure something out, I guess. And then the Washington pass defense. We talked about it going into the game, one of the best in the entire country. Well, they decided to throw the ball 50 times in this game, did USC, and Miller Moss got picked off 3 times. It was a very, very rough day. Washington got 10 points off those INTs. That's the difference in the game. So I don't know why they didn't go to Woody Marks a little bit more often. He was playing really, really good football, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to question Lincoln Riley, a very good play caller, just a little bit weird, at least in my opinion. And then a massive win for Washington puts them in a very, very good position going forward. And Penn State this upcoming weekend, maybe you shock the world and get that win, but then you got UCLA and Oregon to finish. Not needing 2 wins is huge. Losing this game, needing 2 wins to get bowl eligible was going to be a little bit sketchy. Now you just got to beat UCLA, and it's proving to be a little bit tougher than you might have thought a couple of weeks ago, but as of right now, I'd probably like them against UCLA, and I do like them to probably go bowl eligible this year. Then we got TCU Baylor. This one was weird, and the Dave Aranda job save continues. It's been really, really remarkable to watch, but Baylor's won 3 straight after their 2-4 start and put them in really great position to win a bowl game and possibly get to 7-8 wins this year, which, if you asked me after that 2-4 start, I would have said Dave Aranda's going to be fired before November, but here we are. They've played really, really good football, and Baylor ran the ball incredibly well in this game. 44 carries, 257 yards on the ground. Now TCU returned the favor on the other side, 333 through the air. So it was a little bit of a battle of styles in this one, but Byron Washington for Baylor was just spectacular. 26 carries, 196 yards, 4 scores. One of the better players in the entire country this week, and maybe, just maybe, we'll make it onto that individual performance superlative on tomorrow's show. But the second half had 9 total possessions in this game. There were scores on 7 of them. It was absolutely insane, and there were 6 touchdowns and 1 field goal. That 1 field goal was by TCU, and that might have just done them in. If they didn't kick that field goal, if they were able to turn that into 7, they're up by 4 points, and Baylor needs a touchdown coming back the other way, but they didn't. They just needed the field goal, and Hankins wins it for them. So really remarkable stuff from Baylor. Dave Aranda just continues to pull rabbits out of a hat. If he can win at least 1 or 2 of these games coming forward, a 7-5 season for Baylor this year does not sound too bad. I can promise you that. But moving forward to the G5, Georgia Southern, huge win over South Alabama, and one that they were down 14-30 going into the fourth quarter of this game. Then they scored the last 20 points of it and got out with a huge win because it moves them to 4-1 in the Sun Belt and gives them a real shot at that conference title, especially with Old Dominion going down this past weekend. Absolutely huge. And J.C. French, the Georgia Southern quarterback, deserves a lot of respect. 22 for 27, 198 yards in this game, 2 scores through the air. Him, Jalen White, the running back, Josh Dallas, the wide receiver, making this Georgia Southern offense just really, really hard to stop. And you saw it against that Boise State game where they did give up 6 touchdowns to Ashton Genty, so that didn't help by any means, but their offense really got going in that game. And it's because of all these guys. Very, very talented group, and that Georgia Southern team's a little bit more frisky than some people are giving them credit for, but this puts you right where you want to be if you're Georgia Southern. I think you sit atop the Sun Belt East right now, and you have the tiebreaker over number 2 Marshall, so could be Georgia Southern's division to lose. They have a couple of tough games coming forward, but as of right now, that could be the team that is representing the Sun Belt East in that title game. Then we had this one. Rice was able to get the win. It was one that I did not see coming. I, in fact, picked Navy in my best bets to cover their spread. Rice defense just came out to work on Saturday, but Rice gets a huge win over Navy. Navy officially ends their CFP hopes, and you now put yourself in a very interesting position if you're Rice. You obviously you got to win the rest of the way. If you want to get to a bowl game, you're only 3-6 right now, and they play Memphis this upcoming Friday. So at least you get to live to fight another day. We'll see what happens on Friday. But the story of this game was Dean Connors, the running back for Rice. He had 18 carries, 105 yards, 2 scores. Rice had a couple of turnovers from E.J. Warner, but their run game was plenty capable of handling all of the craziness of this game, including a 5-hour weather delay that got very, very close to breaking the FBS record for the longest delay in a game, but didn't quite get there. I believe it was like 5 hours, 18 minutes or something like that. But the defense was the story, though. 2 interceptions off Blake Horvath in this game. Huge shout out to Pete Alomar, the interim head coach, for having his guys ready to roll. And this defense really wanted to prove something, and man, did they. Really remarkable performance from them. And then you have this last game that knocked someone else out of the CFP conversation from the American. Memphis does fall to UTSA, a team that they probably shouldn't have fallen to, but at the end of the day, they fall out of CFP contention, and this UTSA team could not be stopped by Memphis in this one. Owen McCown went 20 for 37, 280 through the air, 4 scores. Really remarkable stuff, and actually led UTSA in rushing, which very weird again, but you'll take it any way you can get it. Seth Hannigan had 454 in this game, 4 scores, so he was plenty capable, but weren't able to take advantage of a missed field goal by UTSA, and that was about it. Really, really impressive stuff from UTSA, and for Memphis, it was one of those years that was a little bit up and down, a little bit weird, but you're probably going to be on the outside of the CFP looking in, no doubt about that. But a huge week, a crazy week all over the place. One of those weeks that we're probably going to remember for quite some time, especially when it comes to Selection Sunday. But that'll do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference for us. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly need. But thank you once again for listening, and I will see you guys tomorrow.